Should you buy Resident Evil 2 in 2021? Resident Evil 2 is a remake of the original game, bringing everything to 3D with a complete overhaul while staying true to the original game in many aspects. I haven't played the original, so I can't really comment on how well it respects the original, but from what I've heard, it does a really good job. But is Resident Evil 2 worth buying in 2021? It's already been 2 years since Resident Evil 2 released, and with Resident Evil 3 now out and another Resident Evil game, has it aged well? Thank you to Dark Knight who suggested Resident Evil 2 to be reviewed. We will be talking narrative and gameplay. Narrative will be a bit shorter than usual because, well, there isn't much to talk about. Thank you all for the support. Now, as I mentioned, there isn't a lot to talk about when it comes to narrative. Resident Evil is much more about the atmosphere and gameplay mechanics rather than story, and yet, if you go in expecting no real story, you'll actually be pleasantly surprised if you haven't played the original. Now, you can either play as either Claire or Leon, and on my first playthrough, I played as Leon recently, and I also played as Claire a while back, a couple years back. Both characters follow similar stories, but is structured a bit different, which really adds a lot of replay value. The game's story, at its most basic, is about escaping a police station of zombies while a giant guy with a hat chases you for hours and hours, and I think that simplicity makes the game work. There is also some genuinely good cinematic moments, and not in the big explosion sense, but dramatic. A good example is the officer you meet at the start accepting that his death is coming. It's not overblown or comic relief, it just really works, and I really liked it.
I'm giving you an order, rookie. You save yourself first. I'd come with you, but I'd just slow you down. Now, you'll need this.
I can't take him.
Stop.
Now, a lot of the story is mainly told through collectibles and stuff like that, and while leaving the big moments for you to play through like bosses etc, the little collectibles add a lot of lore to it and I quite enjoy it. There are bosses that you're forced to play and they can catch you quite off guard, and speaking of that, the quality of pacing in this game is all down to how you quickly pick up the gameplay loop. And this was my second proper playthrough, so I picked it up quite quickly, but the entire game can be beat in like 3 or 4 hours if you speedrun it. But on your first playthrough, you're looking around 7 to 8 hours before you can switch to another character like Claire, so in total it's about 15 hours of gameplay. That really is about it for narrative, so I best move on to gameplay. Now, gameplay is king for Resident Evil 2. Is it slow? Yes, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Slow gameplay gets a bad rap today as everyone is craving the next Doom or super fast FPS game for that adrenaline, so Resident Evil 2 offers a fresh and enjoyable experience that requires you to take your time, explore and use your head. Puzzles are around every corner with rewarding loot for each puzzle, surrounded by lethal zombies around every corner, while a giant man in a hat is stalking you every step of the way. It brings you that tense horror experience a lot of games these days lack, and it's just so refreshing. There is plenty of enemy variety. I mean, just look at this thing.
What in God's name?
It's disgustingly awesome and is lethal. There is also no autosave in Resident Evil 2, and I love that. It really adds to the intensity of the experience, but don't worry, there are plenty of save points throughout the game, and you best remember where they are on the map or you will die very quickly. A variety of weapons are also available, varying from your trusty pistol to a powerful shotgun and even some SMGs, and some surprises I won't spoil. There are also puzzles that unlock attachments for these weapons, making them more useful and a lot more fun to use, making you feel like you're getting more experience as you get further and further into the game. It reminds me a lot of Alien Isolation, which is a game I will be reviewing very soon. Mr. X stalks your every move and is impossible to kill, so all you can do is run and dodge his attacks, and it really gets your adrenaline pumping at times. Now, it's not perfect. There is a lot of backtracking in Resident Evil 2, perhaps too much, as you find yourself looking for items to get into specific areas, and those items need to be inspected to unlock another item to access another doorway. Now, most of these moments are actually optional, and even I thought I may not enjoy that part, but I found myself really invested, which shocked me. I think the developers absolutely nailed the pacing for these sections, even if you don't really know what to do. It really makes you think and feels really rewarding to get past these puzzles. Obviously, if you don't have a lot of time to complete your games, you can always cheat and check an article online, and I don't think there really is anything wrong with that. If that's how you want to play, go for it. It really doesn't take anything away from the overall experience, but if you do really want that nice satisfaction feeling trying to beat these puzzles, using the tools Resident Evil 2 actually gives you, and that's your brain and 2 subtle hints as to what to do, it really gives you that satisfaction that I quite crave from these kind of games. The boss fights are also really fun. They are a bit generic in terms of gameplay design. It's one of those run around a small area and find healing items and ammo to try and survive, but it really works due to the close third person camera and the lack of fast movement you have when aiming. It makes it really intense. They can feel quite cheesy at times with the hit registry causing some frustration, so if you can't handle cheese, I wouldn't try to beat these guys on harder difficulties. It's a really fulfilling experience, but can be quite difficult, so as I mentioned, there is nothing wrong with reducing difficulty. I myself played on normal difficulty, so there you have it. You have around 15 hours of new gameplay with both stories of Leon and Claire, as well as some other mini-game modes, which is great, so the game isn't bloated at all and really nails the length. Overall, Resident Evil 2 is a great horror experience and feels like a fresh new experience, doing away with the trends of the industry and fully focused on dragging you into a zombie-filled world, attempting to scare you as much as it can, and provides a very satisfying 15 hours of gameplay. You should absolutely buy Resident Evil 2 in 2021. Thank you for watching.